It is the longest structure ever built by human hands, stretching over 13,000 miles across mountains, deserts, and cliffs so steep that building there at all seems physically impossible. It took more than 2,000 years to complete, and it was built largely by people who had no choice: soldiers, peasants, and prisoners who worked until they dropped and were sometimes buried in the very walls they were building. The Great Wall of China is not just an architectural achievement. It is a monument to human will, imperial ambition, and the staggering cost of both. And almost everything you think you know about it is only half the story. The Great Wall didn't begin as one wall. That is the first thing to understand. It began as dozens of separate walls, built by separate kingdoms across several centuries, with no grand unified plan behind any of them. China in the 7th and 8th centuries BC was not yet a unified empire. It was a patchwork of competing states, each guarding its own borders against neighbors, both Chinese and nomadic. Individual kingdoms built earthen ramparts and wooden barriers along their northern frontiers, crude but functional defenses against the horse-riding peoples of the steppe, who periodically swept south to raid agricultural settlements. These early walls were modest, fragile, and built to solve immediate local problems. Nobody was yet thinking in thousands of miles. That thinking arrived with one man, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. In 221 BC, after decades of brutal warfare, Qin Shi Huang unified the warring Chinese states under a single rule for the first time in history. He standardized currency, weights, and measures. He built roads and canals. He buried himself with an army of 8,000 terracotta soldiers, and he ordered the existing northern walls connected, extended, and reinforced into a single continuous defensive barrier stretching across China's entire northern frontier. His vision was total, his methods were merciless, and his timeline was immediate. The human cost of Qin Shi Huang's wall was staggering from the first day. Estimates suggest that between 300,000 and 500,000 workers were conscripted for the project: soldiers, peasants torn from their farms, convicted criminals, and political prisoners. They worked in extreme hardship, in terrain that ranged from baking desert to mountain passes lashed with ice and wind, with inadequate food, tools, and shelter. Death rates were catastrophic. Ancient Chinese texts describe workers dying by the thousands, their bodies incorporated into the wall itself, packed into the earthen core as fill material. The wall, in those accounts, was built on bones. Archaeological excavations have found human remains within wall sections, lending grim credibility to stories that ancient Chinese poets called the Great Wall the longest cemetery on Earth. Qin's wall was built primarily from tamped earth, rammed layer by layer into wooden frames until it compressed into something hard and durable. In areas where stone was available, stone was used. Where neither was available easily, workers used whatever the landscape offered. In the Gobi Desert, some sections were built from reeds and gravel, materials that have somehow partially survived 2 millennia in the dry desert air. The engineering was adapted constantly to terrain and available resources, which meant the wall that emerged was never uniform. It varied enormously in height, width, and construction material along its length. The Qin Wall did not survive well. Subsequent dynasties allowed large sections to fall into ruin, rebuilding and extending in some areas while abandoning others entirely. The Han Dynasty pushed the wall further west to protect the expanding Silk Road trade routes. Later dynasties built their own sections in different locations for different strategic purposes. For nearly 1,500 years after Qin, the wall was less a single structure than a constantly evolving, partially maintained, frequently rebuilt network of fortifications spread across northern China's vast frontier. The wall that most people picture today, the dramatic stone and brick structure snaking over mountain ridges in the photographs, is almost entirely the work of the Ming Dynasty, which ruled China from 1368 to 1644. The Ming came to power after expelling the Mongol Yuan dynasty, and they were acutely, almost obsessively aware of the steppe threat that Mongol power represented. They invested in their northern defenses on a scale that dwarfed every previous effort. Over nearly 3 centuries, the Ming rebuilt and extended the wall using fired brick and cut stone rather than tamped earth, materials far more durable and precisely engineered. They added watchtowers every few hundred meters, garrison stations, beacon towers for signaling by smoke and fire, and sophisticated drainage systems to prevent water damage to the structure itself. The Ming Wall at its most developed was a genuine military system, not merely a barrier. Watchtowers served as barracks and supply depots, housing rotating garrison troops who could signal warnings across enormous distances using pre-arranged combinations of smoke and fire. A message could reportedly travel the entire length of the wall in just a few hours, a communication speed remarkable for the era. Gates and passes were fortified into elaborate multi-walled fortress complexes designed to channel, trap, and destroy enemy forces that managed to breach the outer defenses. And yet, for all its extraordinary scale and sophistication, the Great Wall largely failed at its primary military purpose. Nomadic forces breached it repeatedly through bribery, through finding unguarded sections, or simply through the sheer impossibility of manning every mile of a 13,000-mile barrier with sufficient troops. The Mongols under Genghis Khan swept through. The Manchu forces that ended the Ming Dynasty in 1644 didn't breach the wall through military genius. A Ming general simply opened the gates and let them through. A wall is only as strong as the people defending it, and by 1644, the Ming Dynasty neither had the soldiers nor the will to hold. What the Great Wall did achieve was subtler and in some ways more significant than pure military defense. It defined a boundary, magisterial as much as physical, between the settled agricultural world of China and the nomadic world of the steppe. It gave Chinese civilization a visible, tangible edge, a statement in stone and brick that said, "Here is where we end and the wilderness begins." It also served as a road. Its wide top surface allowed troops and supplies to move rapidly along the frontier in ways that would have been impossible through the mountainous terrain it crossed. Today, the Great Wall is the most visited monument on Earth, drawing tens of millions of people annually to walk its restored sections and look out over the same ridgelines that garrison soldiers once scanned for rising dust clouds signaling approaching cavalry. It has become the defining symbol of China itself, an image of civilization's ambition pressed permanently into the landscape. But behind every stone of it lies the labor of people who carried those stones up mountains by hand, who mixed mortar and freezing winds, who died far from their families building something they would never see finished. The Great Wall is a wonder of the world. It is also a monument to the price that ordinary people have always paid for the monuments that extraordinary rulers demand.